Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you so much, Brother Osama. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before I talk about 2022 elections, the main question is why Muslims should care about politics. Why should Muslims vote? It takes time to register to vote. It takes time to go and vote. And it takes a lot of energy to organize. Why are we doing this? We can do business, we can make more money, we can just live in peace, and we can just be to ourselves. Why should we stand up in line with millions of other people and sometimes for hours to vote or even run for office? Why do we have to do that? Is it a headache? The answer is yes. It's a lot of work. But is it worth it? Is it worth it for Muslims to care about politics and to be involved and to be engaged and to be effective and to win and to have results? Is it worth it? If we answer this question, then it will determine if we're going to succeed or fail, or why we succeeded or why we failed in case if we did not care. So the first conclusion I will say, if you don't care about politics, you will get politicians who do not care about you. And that's the situation of American Muslims. 99% of the problems American Muslims have in this country because they are not involved in politics. Number two, they are underrepresented in politics. Number three, they are misrepresented by politicians. Number four, because they're not involved in politics as effectively as they should be, there is negative portrayal and negative public image of Islam and Muslims. Number six, because there is a negative portrayal about Islam and Muslims in the country, in public, in the entertainment, even in the school curricula, everywhere, Muslims are being discriminated against. 70% of Muslims who were surveyed 20 years after 9/11 say that they have experienced at least once the discrimination because of their identity. And because of this, hate crimes happen. Because of this, mosques are attacked. Because of this, some communities find it difficult to expand their mosques or build schools. So, what if we become more involved in politics? The answer is very clear. We have seen it in the past 5 years. Ever since Trump became a president, and even before that when he was running for president, he was targeting African Americans, he was targeting minorities, he was targeting Mexicans, he was targeting women, and he was targeting mainly Islam and Muslims. Because Muslims started to care and wanted to push back and not to run away from politics, they started really to show up and engage in the system and challenge the bigotry that Trump and others have uttered. Muslims started to succeed. Muslims started to show up in big numbers. Young Muslims are running for politics, and they're winning. Muslims are more confident. Muslims are writing their own story. Muslims are showing more courage to face and confront bigotry and racism and Islamophobia. And the results are very clear. Muslims feel more confident. And yes, there's more recognition of American Muslims' contribution, whether in this administration or everywhere. When we started our work at CARE many years ago, I could not recognize more than one Muslim attorney. Today, we have about 6,000 Muslim attorneys in the country. I knew only one Muslim who used to work in media. Today, there are 6 Muslims who have their own national television on the mainstream media. Yesterday, I was happily looking at Facebook, and I saw the first sister with hijab becoming a news anchor in Hartford, Connecticut.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Why? Because we started to care about politics, and we started to get politicians who care about us. So, to be ready for 22, you have to know a few things. Number one, your issues. Your issues intersect with the larger society. Healthcare for everyone, equal pay for equal work, criminal justice reform, including curbing the police brutality against minorities, principally African Americans, healthcare for everyone, reforming immigration, so on basic human rights that Muslims should care about. These are not non-Muslim issues, these are universal human rights issues, and because they are Islamic issues as well. In addition to it, there is Islamophobia, and Islamophobia is not going to defeat itself. It needs people to defeat it. You have to organize, and you have to build alliances to care about other people's issues, and they will care about you. Then you will be heard, you will be respected, and you will be represented. These are the issues, they're not complicated. If you would like to get more information on the issues, just look around. The civil rights of Muslims need to be taken care of. You have better representation. And politicians who represent you in your district or your state should reflect what you care about. And you have to hold them accountable to that representation. And you have to familiarize yourself with this. That's number one. Number two, you have to know your friends. And number three, you have to know your enemies. You have to know your friends, and friendship sometimes can be lasting friendship, and that's the one that's built on principles and values. That cannot be shaken and can be really across the society. You don't have to be Muslim to be a good person. You can be any person, but you have to follow certain good values. And you have to stand up for those who are oppressed. So Muslims find many, many allies in our society, and we have to give them a voice. And we have to lend our voice to them. Sometimes friendship lasts as long as the interest is there. And that's fine. This is not hypocrisy. The Prophet ﷺ built short-term interest and long-term interest with people. In Medina, he signed common defense treaty with other tribes in the city. He signed treaty with Jews and Christians and other tribes. And he said, we're all one in being citizens, and we all have the obligations to defend our city. And he also joined Hilf al-Fudul, the virtue, the what? What do you call the Hilf al-Fudul?
The alliance of the virtues.
The alliance of virtue, even before he was a prophet. He had some moral common interests with people, and he signed an accord with them. So you promote good and prevent evil. If these people change later on, you change the relationship. The relationship is not lasting. It's lasting as long as the accords are taken care of. So that's very critical. And you have to show up and be a friend if you want to be a friend of others. If you need to help people, people will help you. And thirdly, you have to know your enemies. I know that you will say there are many enemies. Well, also you have to be measured. There is no lasting animosity. Maybe your enemy today can be a friend tomorrow. You have to be measured. And it's not, you cannot be dogmatic when it comes where people stand on our issues. For example, you have elected members who might be good on the issues of Palestine. They're not good on other issues. You cannot just be one person issue. You have to be flexible. And again, Go to the Prophet ﷺ and learn from him. I can cite to you examples of the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ when it comes to being involved in politics and how to build the relations with people. And that is not tactics, that's principled, but also takes wisdom on how and when to build alliances and how to build friendships. Enemies of the Muslim community could be based on ignorance, and information can take care of that. Maybe relations can take care of that. But there are one segment of enemies of the Muslim community who will never give up their plots to undermine the Muslim community. And these are really the core of the Islamophobia network in the United States. In specific, Zionist organizations make up the core of the Islamophobia network in the United States. You know why? Because the only issue they care about is Israel. As long as you speak for the Palestinian people and stand up for justice, you are their enemy. And they will plot against you. They will spy on you. They will distort you. They will smear you. And if you're active in this sphere, I know you know what I'm talking about. So you have to take these issues seriously, and you have to be principled, and you have to be courageous. Now, I will talk about an issue that probably is in your minds, and people ask me to talk about spying on CARE, but I will talk about it later. But the more important thing is, once you know these issues, you have to be ready for 2022. As Brother Osama said, 22 is going to be a critical year. And now I will speak in my personal capacity, okay? Because if I speak on behalf of CARE, I'm not going to feel the freedom to express how things are. So those who are recording, whether the camera or other alternative recording, I'm speaking on my behalf, personal capacity as Nihad, Awad, the Executive Director of CARE. So with that, I will say the following. 2022 is going to be a tough year because the party who lost the House and the Senate and the presidency will try to re-win the House, the Senate, and the presidency in 2024. What does that mean? If you're concerned about Islamophobia in the past few months, be prepared for Islamophobia in 2022. Those who attack Ilhan Omar, for example, sitting members of Congress who have been censured or have been condemned, these people might take over the House and the Senate. And instead of just accusing Ilhan Omar and the likes of being suicide bombers and attack Islam, these people will be leaders in Congress. They will chair committees. They will be heads of committees. They will pass legislation against Muslims. And they will use their platform to spread more Islamophobia, bigotry, and racism against Muslims and others. Why do you care? Because it's going to impact you. It's going to impact your families. I'm not partisan, but I know who's my enemy and who's not. Democrats are not my friends. Democrats maybe are our allies. And I have to hold Democrats as responsible as I hold other people. And no one should take the American Muslim votes for granted. So, getting ready for 2022 is the following. We at CARE, Empower Change, USCMO, and other organizations decided in the past election cycle that we should achieve 1 million Muslim voters. I believe in 2022 we should raise it to 1.2 million. And therefore we need to register extra 200,000 people by the end of next year, before elections. Number one. Number two, we have to make sure that young people are registered to vote. And work with them. And have discussions with them. And we cannot give up on any eligible Muslim voter not to vote or not to be registered to vote. And there are certain deadlines. Don't wait till the last day. Third, We have to hold town hall meetings with those who are running in our districts, in our state, and invite them to our community centers and mosques and have a town hall meeting and discuss issues. Discuss issues that we care about. And it's okay, in fact, it is important for mosques to do that. And that does not violate your 501c3 status, as long as you invite both parties. What you cannot do is to invite one candidate without the other or endorse any one of them. You cannot, otherwise you will lose your 501c3 status. Then bring the issues. And what we are planning to do at CARE is the following, and this is really a template that we have followed for the past 25 years. We're going to follow Muslim candidates for public office without endorsing them as CARE. Now I'm talking on behalf of CARE, but now back to in my personal capacity. We issue a report after the election is over and survey how many Muslims ran for office, how many won, how many lost, because we have to raise the profile of Muslim public elected officials. We will be mobilizing the Muslim community. And we will encourage Muslims to volunteer in many campaigns and run for public office yourself if you can. I'm sure maybe it's getting late, but usually this is decided like 1 or 2 years before. In June, between May and June, we will conduct, as we always do in any election, we will conduct a survey to ask American Muslims the issues they care about and the candidates they plan to support. And we publish these results to 45,000 media outlets nationwide, because we have to raise the profile of Muslim engagement in politics. Then we do the get out the vote along with many organizations before the election. And to do that, we do robocalls to almost 700,000 households, reminding them of going to vote and if there's any deadline for voter registration. On the day of the election, we do another exit polling to ask Muslims if they voted and whom they voted for. And we publicize this also and make it available to 45,000 media outlets and to everyone. And you can see that CARE, along with other Muslim organizations, we try to let the world know how American Muslims take elections seriously. And after that, immediately within 1 to 2 weeks, we will issue a final report on Muslims who ran for office. Right now, we have 171 Muslims who won offices in the last election, and that was a historic number. And before I conclude and leave, in my personal capacity, I would like to recognize the presence of Awad here. If you can stand up. Awad is running for Congress. He worked in the Senate, and he's ready to run for Congress in Hartford, Connecticut. He's trying to replace someone who's been there for 22 years. Our community needs fresh air. They need fresh voices. And I tell you, he has my endorsement, and try to work with him, inshallah, and support him.